Well, all eyes have been on America's leader this week. In an historic speech from the Oval Office, Joe Biden addressed the nation about his decision to drop out of the 2024 election race.
I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think it's more important than any title. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claremont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump has held his first rally since the president stepped aside, taking aim at his replacement on the Democratic ticket, Kamala Harris.
This November, the American people are going to tell her, no thanks, Kamala. You've done a terrible job. You've been terrible at everything you've done. You're ultra-liberal, and we don't want you here. We don't want you anywhere. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here. You're fired.
So, what are these political power players really showing us with their physical cues?
For more insight, body language and communications expert Louise Mahler joins us from Melbourne.
Hi, Louise.
Welcome back, Louise.
Good morning.
Let's start with Joe Biden's first speech since stepping aside. What did you make of his address and his expressions?
Oh, thanks, Phil. Isn't it fascinating, the whole American election? And with Joe Biden, I think that people have treasured him. They've honoured what he's done. He's devoted 50 years of his life, and he's had COVID. Having said that, I could not get past his delivery. So we know that he's reading, and he's reading poorly. So he sometimes skips the words. His body, he is so slow with his gestures, and his eyes tend to stare. He was better on this occasion, but it's still there. But the worst thing is his voice. So at the 1 minute 30 mark, he starts to whisper as though he hasn't got the energy to get the sound out. And then his tongue goes loose, so it hasn't got any strength in it. So instead of saying united, he says united, united. But the worst thing was his swallow, which I've never heard before, an audible swallow, maybe 20 times. And I thought it was tragic. I thought it was just tragic, and I think that he's resigned too late.
OK. He said it was the right decision to pass the torch to Kamala Harris.
Yes.
The Vice President held her first campaign rally in Wisconsin. Let's take a look at Kamala Harris.
And in the next 105 days, then we have work to do. We have doors to knock on. We have phone calls to make. We have voters to register. And we have an election to win.
So she has a completely different energy to both Biden and Trump. How do you think Kamala Harris performed?
Fantastic. We are witnessing a chrysalis turning into a butterfly. It was magnificent. She came out strong. Her energy was in her lower body. Her gestures were fantastic. Her voice was strong. She sometimes belts like that, which is a laryngeal posture. But you do what you do to get the sound across. Her smile is magnificent. The structure of what she said, her gestures talking about what Trump does and what she's going to do in the future, everything was just so confidence building. I thought it gave everybody enormous hope.
Well, it sounds like you're a massive fan as well, which is fantastic. But, you know, despite what you're saying there, you have also said when it comes to her laugh and her hand gestures that she could turn to Obama for some guidance. So what did he master during his presidency that she can learn from?
Well, what he mastered is what she has struggled with in the past, is that she's always had her energy in her upper body. She's breathed high. She's had gestures high. She's karate chopped. She's done lizard fingers. She's clapped high like this for Biden. Now, like Obama, she's got everything low. She could still learn not to look at the stairs when she makes an entrance, but she's got what he's got, which is knowing how to attract attention, how to open his body, how to keep his head on his body, how to hold his upright, how to still include humour. He's magnificent. And what she still needs to work on is her laugh. because with the energy high in the body, she sometimes takes the voice high and then her laugh becomes a cackle. And she says herself, she imitated this from her mother. It is changeable. It's just a habit, and I hope she changes it. But I'd never stop her from laughing. We need to laugh.
We saw Trump ripping into Harris at a rally in North Carolina. What can you share about the way that Trump is coming across now that he's facing a much younger opponent? So he used to give Joe Biden a hard time, Sleepy Joe. Now he can't aim that way against Kamala.
No. Trump is a gladiator, so he will do whatever it takes to fight. And you can see he's throwing his shoulder, he's punching out, he's pointing, he's just vicious. And he attacked her as a person, her morals. He said she's a bad, bad person. What she's done in the past, this was a disaster for the country. What she's doing in the future, he's going for the jugular. And as a gladiator, he'll take whatever method it takes to undermine his opponent.
Yeah, and we haven't seen, speaking of him being a gladiator, you know, we haven't spoken to you since his defiant fist pump after the assassination attempt. It was such an iconic moment. But what does that say about Trump, that even amongst the chaos, he still managed to stop and deliver his message?
It's funny because people will say, look at Trump, he was even thinking marketing in that moment. I have a different opinion, and my opinion is that in a moment of crisis, what happens is the essence of the person comes out, whether we run away, what we do. What did Trump do in that moment? Credit where credit's due. He stood up and he has fight in his bones, and he called fight, and he did the move. This is the essence of the man. He has fight in his blood, and I think in shock, that's what he did. It was a good marketing moment as well.
Yeah, well, an iconic picture.
Was.
It'd be interesting to get your take that showed the true essence of the man in those moments. We show our true selves. Interesting stuff, Louise. Thank you so much for your insights this morning.
Thanks, Carly.
Thanks, Louise.
Yeah, thank you. Sit still. Don't make a move.
I feel like I'm being judged.
I know, right?
I don't want to move my hands or anything.
It's very intimidating having Louise on, trying to interview her. Thanks, Louise.